Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you everything you need to know about the upcoming raids in Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. A lot of players who are new to the game with Endwalker that don't know this kind of stuff that you and I may be used to if we've been playing for year after year after year. So I figured I'll make a sheet, we'll go over all the most important bits, and if you have anything you'd like to add in the comment section of the video, be sure to do that, but do it as spoiler-free as possible. Now for those of you who don't know, the first tier is going to be named Asphodelos. I would love to talk about that name in particular, but like I said, we're going to keep things spoiler-free. Now, in patch 6.01, which is coming out December 21st, we will be getting the normal mode difficulty for Asphodelos. Now, the loot in normal mode works very different than the loot in Savage, so let's go into that. In Asphodelos Normal, each boss is going to drop a bunch of tokens with a bunch of different symbols and names and stuff along those lines. Now these tokens are then exchanged for gear in Rads at Hand, so the bosses themselves won't drop the loot. You'll be able to pick which loot you want based on which tokens you actually win. Now the different types of tokens are a bangle, if they keep to the same naming conventions as Shadowbringers. One bangle will be one accessory, any accessory of your choice. 2 boots, gloves, or helm tokens will be 1 piece of boots, gloves, or head for you to choose from, or 4 armor or chausses will be 1 body or legs, respectively. Now, in terms of getting these tokens, obviously defeating the boss is part of it, but the loot lockout is another big question that people have when it comes to this. Now, the rules for normal mode is you can win 1 token per boss per week. Now, very specifically, you will not be locked out unless you win something. If you do not win a piece of loot after defeating a boss, you can fight that boss as many times as you want until you obtain what you want. So don't just take whatever you want on the first one. Consider what the different items are, what stats they have, what job you want to get them for, those type of things before committing all the way to rolling on something when you first go in. Now, because of that, there are 4 bosses in Asphodelos, so you can win 4 tokens per week, 1 from each boss. Now, this could be 4 accessories, it could be 2 accessories, and then 2 head, hands, or boots, so you can get a piece of that. You can get all 4 body, all 4 legs, or you just get whatever you want. But the bottom line is 4 tokens per week. Now, the item level of this gear is going to be item level 580. It's fairly standard that the normal mode loot matches the extreme trial loot that we've been getting up to this point. So there's no reason to think they would deviate from that. Now, clearing the final fight will also come with an additional piece of loot. Every single person upon defeating the final boss for the first time that week will obtain a blade. It's much like the tokens from the other bosses, but you need 7 of these, again, unless they change things going into Endwalker, to obtain 1 weapon. Now, these weapons will also need an item that you can purchase with Tomestones of Astronomy. These are weekly cap tomestones that we will be getting starting in patch 6.05. By the time that comes out, you can have at most 2 of these. So it's going to take 7 weeks before you have all of the blades you need to purchase 1 astronomy weapon. Now, there's also a minion normally from the final boss. Sometimes orchestrion rolls and stuff like that, but that's all stuff that you don't have to worry about. You can win that and not be locked out, so don't worry about that taking up your weekly loot lockout. Now, as for the difficulty of normal mode, very easy. If you've done a normal trial or the normal raid roulette, it's very much expected that you can go in, maybe if people don't know it, you wipe a few times, and then clear it without much difficulty. Now, that experience may vary with player skill, but it's easy, is all I'm trying to say. It doesn't require like a hardcore coordinated group or anything like that. Now, 2 weeks after normal mode comes out, we will get patch 6.05, and this is when the Savage difficulty of Asphodelos will be releasing. Now, while we're going to be focusing largely on talking about the loot for Savage, there are a bunch of other options that are going to open up to you on this week as well. The first and the most popular one is crafted gear. This will be weapons, armor, accessories, all that can be crafted by those who have been taking their time to do so, and they're going to make a lot of money because this crafted gear is item level 580, the same as normal mode, the same as the extreme trials, and on top of that, it can be overmelded. Now, I have a whole separate video on that, but essentially it's allowing you to add materia past the limitations that the gear has. So if it says it has 2 slots, you can actually go all the way to 5, with certain restrictions, but if you have some grade 9 material lying around, this is where it's probably going to get used on those overmelded slots. Now also, Tomestones of Astronomy, which I mentioned earlier, will be introduced. You can obtain up to 450 of these per week, and the gear that you purchase from that will be item level 590 at base. I don't usually recommend buying something on the first week unless absolutely necessary, because the values of the different gear will allow you to decide maybe you want to hold on to astronomy tomes to buy a body or a leg, or maybe you just really need a headpiece to round things out, or maybe you don't care and you just want to grab a ring or something along those lines. But I normally don't recommend spending them on the first week unless absolutely necessary. Now, every boss in Savage will drop several coffers when defeated. Now, you've had coffers before. You go to town, you use them, and they become an item for your job. Very simple. Now, upon defeating a boss for the first time that week, players will become loot locked even if you don't win anything. You can only even attempt to win loot from each boss once per week. So if you clear a boss, you don't win anything, you're done with that boss for the week. Unless you want to help someone with it, which has its own implications when it comes to the loot rules, you're done. So you can move on to the next boss and so on and so forth until you clear the whole tier. Now, additionally, completing an encounter that comes later will lock you out of the encounters prior to it. For example, if you defeat the second boss before defeating the first boss, you won't be able to obtain loot from the first boss for the rest of the week. So bear that in mind when you're considering joining parties. You will also obtain one book per week upon your first victory over that boss. These can be exchanged for loot of your choice once you have enough. Essentially a pity system for if you do not obtain loot week after week after week. Now, as for how the books will be used, the first boss books, 4 of those will net you 1 accessory of your choice. 6 of the second boss books will get you 1 head, hand, or boots piece. 8 of the third boss books will get you 1 set of legs, and 8 of the final boss books will net you 1 body piece or weapon. We are again still assuming this will work the same as Shadowbringers. There's a chance all of this changes, but these are the things you can expect generally. Now, the armor that you can obtain from books and from Savage itself is item level 600, or I should say will be item level 600, or should be item level 600. The final boss weapons thus should be item level 605. These are just patterns they've established throughout the years. They've never strayed from these patterns since setting them up. We have no reason to believe this will be any different. Now, in addition to the actual loot, there will actually be drops that you get from the second and third boss that will allow you to upgrade gear obtained with Tomestones of Astronomy. Now, astronomy gear at base is item level 590, so just 10 item levels over normal and under Savage. But when you upgrade it, it will upgrade to item level 600. Now, the second boss will drop 1 Tomestone. It's a singular item, not like tomestones like the other ones, and 1 dip. Now, the Tomestone is the item that you actually get from exchanging 7 of those normal mode blades I mentioned earlier. So this would allow you to skip having to farm 7 of them, or just, allow you to get another one, I suppose. That's going to be used in purchasing Tomestone of Astronomy weapons. Now, the dip will actually allow you to, well, it's actually not a dip, it's an oil. Sorry, I wrote that down wrong. We don't need to re-record that. I'm just little change. Oh, look, it never said, no, now it's Doyle. We don't want that. Oh, Doyle rules. And then I got to change again. Oils will allow you to upgrade 1 astronomy accessory to item level 600. So any ring, bracelet, anything on the right side of the character sheet. As for the third boss, that will drop 1 dip, this time correct, and 1 twine. The dip actually lets you upgrade the astronomy weapon that you got with the second boss Tomestone, plus Tomestones of Astronomy. Upgrade that to item level 600. Really, really solid option if you are not someone who is rushing the raid tier. I know it can be hard to commit to getting those items, and you're thinking, oh, I just got to beat 1 more boss, and then I'll get the Savage weapon. I don't need to buy this now. Trust me, if you're doing casual progression for this, not rushing it week 1 or 2, and even if you are sometimes, this will be a worthwhile pickup. The damage, the healing will be massively helpful. Do not sleep on the Tomestone plus dip combination. As for the other item, the twine, upgrade a left side piece, any of the armor, to item level 600 from Tomestones of Astronomy. Now, on top of that, the final boss will actually drop a weapon. I mentioned earlier that would be item level 605, but it drops 1 weapon and 1 coffer, meaning that essentially you get 2 weapons a week. You're really hoping that that 1 weapon that drops on its own is one somebody can actually use to help you with re-clears on the following week. But the player that wins the coffer, just like anything else, they use the coffer in town, whatever job they're currently on, it'll give them that weapon. So it allows you to get some guaranteed weapons every week. There's also the minions from normal, and anything from normal mode that drops here, the minions or any orchestrion rolls, whatever, those will also drop here as well. So if you didn't get them there, you can always get them here. Now, those are all the most important things you need to know about the loot for normal and savage, but if you're somebody who's worried about upgrading gear because you don't really raid, you'll largely just be getting Tomestones of Astronomy every week, and then in a future patch, patch 6.1, the 24-mans will give you opportunities to get these upgrade materials. You'll also have the hunt will give you some upgrade material options, so you're not locked out of getting item level 600, it's just going to be a while before you can really do it, unless you commit to doing some of the savage difficulty stuff. But with that, that's going to be a wrap for my quick overview on what to expect from the upcoming raid tiers and the loot that you're going to be able to get from them. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned. We'll have guides for the normal modes and for the savage modes. Anyway, thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.